Hi and welcome to Dave Barlow Guitar, and in this video I've got a brand new amplifier that I'm about to unbox. More after this. Right, this morning, let's get it open and have a look, see what we have. I know what it is, but do you know what it is? Funny shaped amplifier, isn't it? Usually a lot bigger than this. Right. Haha! We have Blue Guitar AmpOne Mercury Edition. Okay, usual bump that it comes with. Hey, got a sticker, right? Power. Right angle power, good thinking, and the amp itself. A nice, shiny, new AmpOne Mercury Edition. Now obviously there's a difference between, I've already got an AmpOne. There's a difference between the old AmpOne and new AmpOne. Apparently I was led to believe not much of a difference, but after playing it the other day I decided there was quite a lot of difference, so I decided to purchase one. So what I'm going to do over the next maybe a couple of videos is do a few things with this, see how we get on, try a few things out, put it in my new rig, get all that set up, play some songs, play in a band, see how we go on. Anyway, so this AmpOne does a few things differently, and a few things more than my old AmpOne. So I'm going to do some experimenting and finding out how this thing ticks compared to the old one, and I shall be sharing that with you as well. Okay, so here is my rig. As it stands in this, the way it's configured here, it's probably done a couple of 100 gigs since it's last been changed. Everything's been the same for the last nearly 2 years, I would think. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swap out the old one and put the new one in. I just run it up and see what happens. So, yeah, so it can't be that difficult, can it? Just unplug everything because everything's in the same place. And I have it on the magnets, which you can get with these. It makes it really easy to just take it off. With the new one, I've pretty much set the settings kind of the same. Pretty much, because I know that works great for me. One thing I'm going to check, just quickly, just bear with me. So I was just checking the effects loop level at the back, just checking that was right. This basically should just slot straight back in, which it does. Foot switch, return, send. So what I'm hoping here really is on the remote one, which is this here. You can see here. Let's move that. This is the remote one here. Basically, what's happened? Bear with me. What's happened is obviously I haven't changed any of the settings on that. It's really dusty because obviously it's a foot pedal and it gets a lot of stomping. So I'm hoping that all the settings in the remote one will stay and transfer the settings to that. I can't remember how it works. I probably should consult the book that comes with it just to double check. But I got a feeling that when I fire this up, these settings here should be pretty much the same. So I've already fired this up already. And I fired it up to run on low output. If you don't know what that is, on the Mercury Edition, you can switch it on at the same time. When you switch it on, you hold down this button. You switch it on. Basically, that puts it in low power mode or half power mode. I'm not sure if it's half power, but it's low power mode. Because these things sound. The more you can turn this master volume up, the better they seem to sound. So let's switch it on. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the presets. Looks like, looking on here as well, looking on the M5, can you see the M5? Yep, you can see the M5 here. It looks like that's changing correctly. So yeah, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so first of all, I just want to point out that this is my gig rig. So basically, this goes in a box. Here's the box, and that just goes like that. And when I plug it all in, I just plug in the speaker to the speaker cable to the speaker, and that's it. And switch it on, it's ready to go. So it's a real simple setup. Now, I just want to say that I've been using this rig. Let me show you. I've been using this rig probably for about 2 years with this, with the original AmpOne. This is obviously the new Mercury Edition AmpOne, and I've been gigging this for about a couple of years, and probably a good 180 gigs. I know how this works. I know what it's capable of and what you can do with it. Even though you might argue the fact that I'm only using very simplified effects with this unit. You know, I'm just one of them guys. I don't use a lot of effects. I might use a little bit of delay in a bit of solo, maybe a bit of chorus somewhere in a song, a wah-wah pedal, and the reverb. That's it. That's kind of what I use. So I got a good idea how to use this. I use all the channels. I use the clean, the vintage, the classic, and the modern. I use the vintage to do some of the older songs, you know, some of the older style songs, which with less gain, and I use the classic for most of the stuff I do, and there's a couple of songs where I use the modern, maybe a Metallica cover or something like that. But that's it. Obviously, the way these are set on the left hand side, I'll go into this in more detail. But I just wanted to show you that. I just wanted to assure you that I've been using this rig for quite some time. Now, first things first, I want to let you know that the original AmpOne is a different beast to this AmpOne. It's a different amp. You'd expect it to sound the same, but it doesn't. It sounds completely different. This is obviously a more versatile unit than the old one, and the sounds in it are slightly different. If you're used to the sounds that you get in this one, you have to tweak this one. You have to tweak the Mercury a little bit to sort of get the same sound, but you can get pretty much the same sound. So don't worry about that. But the settings won't be the same. So the settings that you use here probably won't be the same as you use on the new Mercury one. Now, let me dispel a rumour. Let me tell you something that most people that are reviewing this amplifier are getting wrong. and it's disastrous in my eyes. Maybe not to them, maybe not to you, but in my eyes it's disastrous. In this amplifier there is a nanotube in this amplifier. Now everybody that I've seen on YouTube, when they talk about this, they're telling you it's a preamp tube or works like a preamp tube. That's completely wrong. It's not a preamp tube. This tube works in conjunction with the power amp stage. So let me explain it. So the front end of your amp, say, you know, these that make these sounds, the modern, the classic, the vintage, the clean sound, the front end of it, the actual, especially the gain sounds, they're completely analog, but there's no tube involved with making those sounds. There is no tube involved. This tube is only involved in the power amp stage, in conjunction with the power amp stage, which is class D. So I wanted to let you know about that, because everybody's saying it's the preamp, it's the preamp, it's what's making the sounds here, and that's not true. I'll prove it in a snippet that I'm just going to give you from Thomas Blugg himself.
And this is 3 times the lifespan of a standard preamp tube like ECC 83, and using a little less heater voltage even triples the lifespan of this tube. So this tube will live longer than probably you will live. Anyway, this tube works on the power amp as a driver, and in combination with the PWM power amp, it creates the sound that we know from a real tube, all tube power amp. So we used a new technology to achieve what we all love, a real tube sound.
The thing to remember about this, when people go, oh, you know, I'm not really interested then if it's you know got a preamp tube in it. Look at it like this. If you can imagine, like in the old days where we used to have an amplifier, where we used to, you know, go straight into it and we didn't get much gain out of it, we used to put a pedal in front of it. So at the end of the day, when you look at this, you can imagine it like the old days where you got an amp, the sound's great, but it hasn't got, you know, the sounds that you want, so you use pedals in front of it to get you the sounds you want. Most of them pedals in front of it are analog type pedals, you know, gain pedals, overdrives, tube screamers, stuff like that. I'm not saying this is how this works, but if you got to think of it in a similar way. So this is warming up. It's like your tube amp that you got at home that maybe you have, that you put your pedals in front of. You're warming it up. You're getting a great sound. We used to get great sounds in the 80s, early 90s, doing it that way, and probably before then as well. And it works really well. Maybe this concept is similar. I don't know what Thomas had in mind when he did it, but this works. So I want to dispel that rumour. Because I'm sorry YouTubers, but most of you guys are getting it wrong. This works in the power amp stage, not preamp stage. So what are the differences between the Mercury and the original edition? Obviously I'm going to do some record some stuff so you can hear what the Mercury sounds like. But basically the main differences to me are, if we start with actually how it sounds, the clean to me is pretty much the same as the old one. The vintage sounds slightly more modern. So it's got a vintage sound. It's a little bit tighter on the bottom end. It's less flabby than the original, which I really like. I would say it makes it more usable. The classic channel, I would say, in all honesty, is more classic sounding on the Mercury than it is the original, which is a good thing, because whatever's left, the modern will pick up. Now, on the original, the modern was just sounded like a modern amp to me. It sounded fine to me, and I used it for Metallica and stuff like that. Whereas the modern on the Mercury just seems to have a little bit more oomph to it. in terms of, I think, mid-range. So I found myself having to tweak it a little bit, just like I did the classic channel, to get it to sound more like the original. Not that I dislike the way the Mercury is, because the Mercury sounds slightly different. It is more usable. It's got more usable sounds in it, that's for sure. But yeah, for my preference, that was the key differences there. They were all a plus. There was no minuses there at all. The other plus you have with this is, with the Mercury, is that you can go into, there's a few different modes you can go into. You can go into like a half power mode, so you can push the power amp side a little bit harder if you want. Personally, I don't do that. I've tried it and I kind of just prefer it, you know, as it is, just at the normal volume. Also, you can run it so that you can have a lower input gain on it. I've tried it. I'm not going to use that myself. And also, you can actually run it so you can add an additional pedal to flick through all the different channels here, or modes, if you like, however you want to do that. I mean, I'm not going to really sort of go through that, because loads of people on YouTube are already doing that. This video really was really to explain how the power amp section works, because I think most YouTubers have got it wrong. Anyway, gone over that already. But anyway, that's the main differences. So everything's the same. So hopefully I got this point of the camera the right way. Everything's the same here, except I had to do more tweaking with these knobs to get my sound the way I wanted it. But once I got it, you know, it was fine. I'm happy. I've done probably, I think, 6 or 7 gigs now with this, and I'm well happy. Let's have a listen to a few sounds that the AmpOne Mercury can do. First of all, I am running through this guitar, which is a Les Paul 1960 reissue with modifications by me, which, if you've seen my channel, you know what I do to it. Pickups are in the neck, that's a Tesla Shark by Iron Gear. In a bridge, that is a that's 9 gear Dirty Talk in the bridge. That's it. Next, normal cable into the tuner, then into the AmpOne. The AmpOne settings, I've got reverb on 3, treble, middle, bass all on 5, the master's on 7, the gain's on 6, and the volume for the clean channel is on 7. Just the thing about the volume, because I'm using the AmpOne controller, or Remote One it's called, I can actually set my volumes with this. So I've set my volumes with this, so basically my master's on 7 and my volume is on, my master for my gain channels are on 7 and my volume is on 7 for the clean channel. That's kind of how, that's just kind of how I do it. More on the Remote One perhaps another time. Obviously there's loads of videos about it, on how you can use it. This video is really just about how I'm finding the AmpOne, the new edition of the AmpOne, the Mercury Edition. So and then from the amp, I'm going out of the blue box, which is basically a speaker emulator, for want of better words. I've got it in stack 1980. I've got the mic in the normal position, because that's the closest I can get in the cans to my live sound. Let's start off with the clean. This is the clean channel. I usually put a bit of chorus on a clean channel, but I'll start off without it, and we'll see what it sounds like. Keeping the guitar in simple, because we need to hear the amp, see what it does. Okay, with the, so I usually use, with the clean, I usually use chorus, so let's put some of that on. It's clean. So next is the vintage. I'm keeping everything the same. I'm not changing any of the dials to make it sound good, right? I'm just keeping everything as I have them when I'm playing. So this is the vintage. Let's get the right button. Vintage. That orange one there, right? So kind of AC/DC kind of territory with a vintage channel. So next up we got the classic channel, which is the one I use the most. This is kind of like my kind of normal rhythm and rhythm sound and lead sound, but we'll get into that. So let's just crank out a few chords and see what happens. Okay, so quick tune up. Okay, so that's classic channel. Classic channel, we'll put a bit of boost on for those kind of like, you know, classic channel boost. Why use classic? Some people use the boost on all the time. I don't. I just use the boosts when I need to kind of just, you know, put something in just to, which has got a little bit more emphasis on the work, on the guitar work. Maybe sort of you go for a when maybe it's got a bit more lead stuff going on, so you can use a little bit more oomph. Okay, so yeah, that's classic with boost. So we're moving on to let's try something else like classic. Let's try the classic channel with a little bit of chorus on it, just so you can hear perhaps how that might sound. To see how effects maybe work with the amp. You can hear that the AmpOne has got a noise gate. Generally, I always find it works pretty good. Although sometimes I find that, you know, when I'm in this environment with all these lights on and stuff, it's hard to keep the, you know, to get the noise gate from kicking in. If you're recording, you can put the noise gate on like full, and it just stops all the noise from coming in. But I don't want to do that today, because I'm just going to use the amp as I would do, you know, when I'm at a gig. If for some reason I got noisy lights or something's interfering with the amp, I just every time I finish playing, I just hit the clean button, and everything just goes away. So the next channel is the modern channel, which is it's got a little bit more oomph to it. Let's give that a say just say thanks for watching my video. Put some comments in the bottom, subscribe, click the bell thing, do all that kind of stuff, and I'll catch you later.